with you and the morning's edition of The Breakfast Show. And of course, as promised earlier, we have with us here in the studio our guest, Mr. Abdul Rahman, the journalist, to discuss the escalating regional tensions. A very good morning to you, Mr. Amr.
And a very good morning to you.
Thank you very much for your time this morning, and thank you for joining us on The Breakfast Show.
Pleasure always.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amr. Now, of course, amid the escalating tensions and the ongoing repercussions of this war, Egypt has actively been engaged in a diplomatic fury, really, if you may, and efforts over the past few days to attempt to bridge the gap maybe between the US and Iran with regards to this war. Tell me a bit about the diplomatic role played by Egypt in this regard, and then we will take it step by step through all the diplomatic activities over the last few weeks.
Well, bridging the gap between the two sides of this conflict is the main mission to Egypt. And this is the crucial decision that we have made since the very beginning of this crisis.
Yes.
And it's a brave one, really, because you cannot take sides in such conflict, as well as you cannot stand away from this conflict. You got to engage, but to engage in a vision, mutual vision, that gives every side its responsibility. We are keeping responsibility on this situation to each side, both sides. If we return to the very beginning of this crisis, we would find, according to what was published just yesterday, that more than 100 law experts internationally has condemned the invasion since the very beginning. It has no background by the international law. It's against the international law by all means. This is the first step. It was wrong. And now we are facing the consequences.
Yes. And from the very beginning, Egypt warned against this war, warned against dragging the whole region and escalating the situation further. From the very beginning, Egypt called for diplomacy, for negotiations, for reaching some sort of common ground several times by President Abdul al-Sisi, warning all the world, really, as a result of the war and the repercussions on the whole world, not just on the region.
Because we have strong relations with both sides.
Yes.
We have our own strong relations with, and strategic relations with the Gulf countries,
yes,
as well as the US, as well as we have our strong relations with Iran.
Yes, indeed.
So we cannot just take side in such conflict. And that was the really brave decision, not to take side, but to stand among the two sides and try to bridge the gap between the two sides.
Now, tell us a bit about the Egyptian mediation. Just very recently, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr Abdulati, was with his Russian counterpart, Lavrov, and they had a press conference discussing their discussions related to de-escalation efforts and reaching some sort of agreement or ceasefire. This is one of the most recent developments. Tell me a bit about this visit and the importance of talks between two very big powers, Egypt and Russia.
Personally, I was pleased to have such news to be listened to. I believe that listening to Russia is listening to the sound of reason, the sound of true diplomacy and a strong diplomacy. Because Russia is just more than taking the same side and the same vision that we have taken close to us, which is meddling between the two sides and refusing the aggression, as well as trying to put off this fire by all means. And of course, with Russia, we can accomplish too much. We can accomplish a lot because we have a very strong relations, strategically, economically, militarily, politically, diplomatically, historically, you name it.
Indeed. Now, just before this, also the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Badr Abdulati, was on a visit to Pakistan under the leadership of the international coalition in Pakistan in the recent days to try and reach some sort of agreement or ceasefire to end this war. How do you see his visit and the fruits that it bore?
Well, of course, Pakistan has taken the lead
yes,
of the diplomatic efforts. By all means, they have they are rising like a star suddenly, all of a sudden, those efforts are giving the true hope to find an end, close end for this conflict. And of course, we have our own strong relations with Pakistan, and we are doing our best, along with Pakistan, along with other countries like Turkey, like Saudi Arabia, to find an end and to find a path between under the fire to find an end to this conflict.
Now, regarding, Egyptian diplomacy and Egypt's diplomatic efforts in this regard, President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi has assigned the foreign minister with several meetings and tasks with regards to coordination between Arab and Gulf countries and meetings, visits to these countries in order to emphasize the Egyptian support for the current attacks that they are undergoing. How important do you see this and the Egyptian state's total rejection of attacks on Arab and Gulf states?
Well, those visits paid by Mr. President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi to Gulf countries were to convince the Arabic regimes in Gulf with our own point of view. We cannot take side, but they have our own full support. But we cannot take side at the same time. We cannot send military troops to such conflict led by the Americans. But they have understood the Egyptian vision. We are supporting them. They are our own brothers. But in the same time, we cannot take sides in such conflict militarily. So they have our own support, politically, diplomatically, whatsoever. And we are reaching out with other countries. We are talking about with those who are responsible for calling out the decisions in the U.S. administration, as well other countries like Pakistan and Russia.
Right. Now, of course, amid the rising tensions, the Egyptian intensified diplomatic efforts to bridge the gap between the U.S. and Iran, of course, are all aimed at de-escalating further tensions. We have more details in this report, and we're back to continue our discussion here with our guest in the studio. Do stay tuned.
As tensions continue to mount in the region, Egypt has stepped up its diplomatic engagement in a bid to ease the crisis between the United States and Iran. Over the recent days, Cairo has been actively working behind the scenes, leveraging its long-standing diplomatic channels to bring the two sides closer to dialogue. Egyptian officials are conducting a series of direct contacts and coordinated efforts with key international and regional partners. This initiative comes as part of Egypt's traditional role in supporting regional stability and promoting political solutions to complex conflicts. By facilitating communication and reducing tensions, Cairo hopes to create the conditions necessary for meaningful negotiations. The goal is clear: to prevent further military escalation and open the door to a comprehensive settlement that addresses the root causes of the crisis. Such a breakthrough would not only enhance regional security but also protect global economic stability, which has been increasingly threatened by ongoing uncertainty. Observers note that Egypt's balanced relations with multiple parts give it a unique advantage in mediation efforts. While challenges remain significant, Cairo's diplomatic push signals a renewed commitment to peace and de-escalation.
Welcome back, still with you on the morning's edition of the Breakfast Show. Once again, delighted to have with us in the studio Mr. Rahman, our guest, the journalist for this morning's episode. Once again, pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Amr.
I'm more delighted.
Now, there are, of course, as we were speaking, reports about Egypt, Turkey and Pakistan, and passing messages possibly between Washington and Tehran, trying to, as we said, bridge the gap between the two sides, paving the way for direct talks, which is really the aim right now. Tell me a bit about what are the biggest obstacles, in your opinion, to reaching this kind of direct talk stage at the moment.
I believe the huge obstacle here is the difference between the strategy between the U.S. and Israel, which is if we lean to the American vision, they mean to end up this war in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, like Mr. Donald Trump has mentioned in his last speech. But if we lean to the other side, the Israeli side, we will find that they need this war to go on and on and on. for religious reasons, for electional reasons. They have elections in Tel Aviv in a matter of months. So I believe that Netanyahu wants to take the sword of a conqueror before these elections. And of course, if he doesn't have this sword of conquer, he will not go through this election. So I believe it's a matter of differences in strategies. So I believe we have two gaps to bridge between the two sides, the Iranian side with the American and the Israeli, and another gap to bridge between the American and the Israeli, which they have differences in tactics, in agendas.
Now, Egypt, has also discussed and emphasized the regional impact of this war, and it continues to do so in terms of security, in terms of energy markets, in terms of the global economy. And this has been another strategy by Egypt to, open the eyes of the international community, if it were, about the global repercussions on an economic, scope of things, which is also very important. I mean, if you want to say countries are not interested in the political side, they'll be definitely interested in the economic side, because they're also being affected by the energy prices hikes, etc. How important do you see this side of, education, if you may, or calling for an end to this war because of these other repercussions?
Well, this is the other side, or the other face of our own
coin,
diplomacy. We had our own crucial decision, which is not taking sides in this conflict. And the other face is making it clear to the whole world, to the whole powers in the world, whether in the US or in Europe or in the Far East or the Russians. We are suffering, not just us, all of the nations in the heart of Europe. They are suffering right now. They are suffering both sides, whether they don't have the ability to communicate with Russia, to take their own gas because of the war that was initiated, or they can't at the same time take side to the Americans and the Israelis in this conflict. So they have a very crucial decision to make, and they cannot dare to take it. In Egypt, we are making it clear that this crisis is a made-up crisis. It came from nowhere, based on no international law. It's against the international law, and the consequences are more to be taken, more to be absorbed. We are taking measures, of course, domestically to face such consequences, but at the same time, we're not just facing this alone. The whole world is facing the consequences, and we need for the whole powers in the world to gather together, not to take side, but to take both sides on one table and find that crucial decision to be made. A peaceful decision should be taken right now.
Now, President Abdul Fattah al-Sisi has personally appealed, to the world leaders to stop the hostilities, discussing how dangerous further escalations can be if they continue in this manner. How do you see, and how significant are these high-level interventions in diplomatic terms?
This is exactly what I'm talking about. We are urging the world to understand and to absorb and to take this call of responsible decision to make, not to take side, but to gather both sides and find a near stop to this conflict by all means, by all diplomatic channels that we have, and we have lots of channels to use. We have our own strategies. We have our own relations with both East and West, and this is a very important thing that we possess. We have our own strong relations with Russia and the Americans at the same time. We have our own ties with Iran, as well as we have our brotherly ties with the Gulf countries. So I believe we are a key decision in this matter, in the peaceful path to find an end to this conflict.
Now, we are hearing different, news. On the one side, some sort of negotiations are underway. There's talks, there's messages being swapped between the two sides. On the other side, no, there has been no contact and no negotiations and no interest in even taking part in negotiations. How do you see the different narratives that are being presented from the two sides?
What's going on the table is different than what's going on beneath the table.
Yes.
Of course, we have their channels of communications. It's a matter of will. Who is taking the real decision based on a strong will to end this conflict? If they reach the decision that this war can never be won, they can never, whether the Iranians or the Americans can never win this war. And all of the international media reports directing to this meaning. This war can never be won. It only leads to destruction of both sides. We have witnessed the destruction that Iran is facing right now in all of the cities, in all of the levels, civilians or military, as well as we are seeing or witnessing the demolition that has happened to the military bases in the Gulf, as well as we have learned that the American troops, they are running away from the battle and hiding and finding a place to hide. And that's why we have learned that more than 12 general leader in the American army was dismissed from their posts. That means a lot. That shows that this war can never be won at all levels.
There'll never be a clear winner.
Exactly. They can never repeat the scenario of Iraq. They thought they can repeat the scenario of Iraq. Today, the world is not gathered with the same way it has happened against Iraq. Not just because they have learned their lesson by creating chaos in the Middle East and the Arabic East, but also for economical reasons.
Now we've seen reports of soldiers and Marines and boots on the ground, probability, possibility, etc. Do you think that this is still a possibility, and what would it mean if there were really boots deployed on the ground?
Well, of course, I believe that it's a matter of vision. I need to understand what the vision they are basing their own decisions upon. I don't understand. But as I have said, this war can never be won militarily. It can only lead to the destruction of the American army, and I believe they are finding another Vietnam in Iran, in Iran right now, today. Who is benefiting from such war? The American nation is against this war. Most of the Americans against this war. In Iran, they are suffering. The Gulf countries are suffering.
Under attack as well, yes.
So who is winning?
There were lots of calls to, secure the Strait of Hormuz, and this is a vital waterway, of course, for ships to pass through, and it has had a great global impact on oil prices, etc., with the closure of the strait. How important do you see the calls and the reception of these calls? I mean, we've seen different reception by European countries. The United Kingdom had its own stance. France then had a ship securely pass, and French President Emmanuel Macron also came out and said when there's a diplomatic will, there's a way, etc. How do you see the importance of the call to secure the Strait of Hormuz, and what are your expectations for the reception of such a call? Before
I give you this answer for this question, I wonder how the American administration did not imagine that Iran can block the Strait of Hormuz. How didn't they take this in their own mind? And now we have this bomb that is nobody is trying to reach it or to touch it. Now Iran is blocking the Hormuz Strait. What we do? What should we do? Because of this crisis, there is another crack between the two sides in the Atlantic, the NATO and the European side and the American side. The Americans thought they can urge the European to take their own side, as well as they have did in Iraq, catastrophic scene, and join them in getting through into this conflict that can never be ended. So the Europeans said, no, we can't. And more than 40 countries in Europe has gathered the day before yesterday to find how all the means, diplomatic means, with the Iranians to find an end to this crisis. They need to find a peaceful end to this crisis with the Iranians. That's exactly what should be taken as an example and keeping in their own minds in the American administration.
And do you see Iran as receptive to these efforts by European countries? Are they collaborating? Are they cooperable with such efforts?
Well, I believe that the answer, the Iranian answer, are more positive to the European, more positive, of course, than they give to the Americans, because they know that the Europeans, they didn't start this war, and they didn't initiate it, and they don't benefit from it. And that's why I believe that the European administration can find finally a window of hope in this matter of conflicts, especially that file of Hormuz Strait.
Right, I'm going to leave it at that as we've run out of time. I'd like to thank you very, very much, our guest, Mr. Abdul Rahman, the journalist. Many thanks for your time, sir, and have a very good morning.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much, Mr. Amr. And moving to